Hi, my name is Peter Moe and I'm from Tourism Ireland's Nordic office in Copenhagen. Today we'll be talking about Belfast and its music. And we have the perfect person with us here today to enlighten us on this. Dolores Vischer from Creative Tours Belfast, a company that offers guided tours that specialise in music and the arts. Now, Dolores, you're very welcome to our show today. Can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your connection to music in Belfast?
Hello, Peter. Thanks for having me. I am Dolores. I live in Belfast. I also lived in Scotland and worked in London for a good number of years. But music has been my passion. At various times over the years, I have run a magazine that specialised on music and the arts of Belfast. But I'd say primarily I'm just a music fan. I go to all genres of music. But I have sung and drummed in bands. And I currently sing in a choir and I'm part of a music collective. And we put an album out last year, The Music Collective. And one of my songs was chosen as a single. So I have written songs and recorded. I don't call myself a musician, but I have dabbled in all areas of it and do love singing.
I was going to say some might though.
Well, some might, but I wouldn't be brave enough to do that. But I do love music and I keep in touch with all the developments in Belfast and like to think I have a pretty good knowledge of Belfast music, past and present.
So that's kind of why we have you here, obviously, Dolores, because you are actually a fountain of knowledge. You do the tours of Belfast. So you basically educate visitors who come to Belfast about why Belfast is special, and especially in terms of music. And actually just jumping back into that, Belfast is actually a UNESCO City of Music. But what does that mean?
For me, I always believed that Belfast is a great, vibrant city of music. And I knew that the City Council was taking the lead in applying to become a UNESCO City of Music. And at the time during lockdown, people were all reevaluating their life. And I decided that after being involved in events and communications at a management level in a university, that I wanted to change and to follow my passion. So I trained as a tour guide and decided that music would be my speciality. I thought we would become the UNESCO City of Music. So I developed the new course for my project and I work very closely with the OEM Music Centre in Belfast, and Charlotte, the chief executive, persuaded me to pilot the tour in November 2021, just as the UNESCO City designation was announced. So we were all ready with the tour. And what that means is that it's the only city on this island of Ireland that has the UNESCO designation and just the third in the United Kingdom. The other two are Liverpool and Glasgow, both ports, as Belfast is, if that has any bearing on it. But the music has just always been a very important part of life in Belfast. It's everywhere. People here, I think, might be more musical. Most people have the tradition growing up that you had to have your party piece ready to perform at family occasions. Certainly both my parents
were just
great.
Something you had to show off at a family occasion. Okay.
That maybe was the more traditional way. But children, if you think about Northern Ireland, the two communities, so to speak, both have great connections with music. On the marching band side, the young people learn the flute and the drums. And on the other side, which would be seen as the nationalist side, young people, there's a network of fesh-uhs and fay-luhs. That's kind of competitions. They're Irish words for you. Competitions and festivals from a young age to learn the fiddle or the bow-rawn or whatever it might be, or to do Irish dancing. So it's just in the part of the community. And there probably wouldn't be a place with more choirs. Just a lot of people get a chance to sing. And there's music everywhere. More talent per person than maybe other cities of a comparable size, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I mean, there's always a bit of hometown pride, and I won't fault you there at all, because there are quite a lot of famous Belfast musicians. Can you?
Well, the most famous person, whenever I'm doing the tours, would be Van Morrison. Everybody's heard of Van Morrison. There was the Kenneth Branagh film that came out about a year and a half ago called Belfast, and a lot of the soundtrack to that movie was Van Morrison tracks. But we have great bands that are well known, perhaps Snow Patrol.
Yeah.
On the pop side, Ash, On the rock side, we had a great guitarist, Gary Moore, who was in Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
We have so many great traditional folk singers and traditional musicians. On the classical side, we've got well-known people like Sir James Galway, nicknamed the man with the golden flute. He played recently with Lizzo in New York, which increased his street cred no end. He's a man about 80, but Lizzo was his great protege.
I think I actually saw that.
He was her hero, and she invited him over to New York to perform with her at the Met Gala Ball. And then she posted on social media some of their rehearsals. So that's brought him to a whole new generation. So there's just all sorts of great musicians, from jazz, hip-hop. Electronic's a big thing in Belfast, electronic music. We have a very well-known composer, DJ called David Holmes, who did the soundtrack for movies from Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, and now does soundtracks for a lot of contemporary television programmes. He's just brought out his own new album, and he, as a producer, he's produced Sinead O'Connor's album, which it's now been agreed will come out. Very sadly, she died last July, but the album was all ready. So he's very well known, and other electronic greats would be Bicep, two young men from Belfast. See, it depends what genre you mean, but we have
Fair
talent
enough. I was actually
in
going to
every
say,
genre.
so basically, if you pick a genre, you can probably find some famous musician from Belfast.
Exactly.
And
Well,
is that
great...
kind of what encompasses UNESCO City of Music, that there is a strong tradition of music and there's a lot of people who have sprung from the city as musicians?
That, and it has to have, as far as I understand, a great network of festivals. And we have so many festivals in this city, and go back to the festivals, but you also have to be a city that supports the education of music. So we have great music at the Queen's University and also in Ulster University, as well as at general lower levels, as they call it, community levels, with all those choirs that I mentioned. So there is a network of supporting and encouraging, nurturing new talent, as well as we have about 85 festivals, I think.
So it's a very holistic thing then, this accolade that it's a UNESCO City of Music then. It doesn't just mean that there are a lot of musicians, it means there's a lot of support for musicians, there's a lot of places you can experience musicians, both, I assume, famous and on the verge, possibly even.
Yes, future stars, as I call them.
Yeah.
Yes, part of the commitment, once you've been given the designation, is to support the musicians, to make more opportunities between the network of creative cities, as it's called. There are 59 cities of music in total, and also in the Creative Cities Network there are cities that are cities of literature, as Dublin is, and cities of film, as Galway is, and to try and just collaborate more to nurture talent and get opportunities. Like musicians from here, from Ireland, Belfast, have been brought over to the States, and we've had other musicians come over here. And that's all to help benefit locals who live here and visitors who come to the city. And the city is working to do that, give more opportunities for our musicians to perform. They put on quite a number of free events every weekend in the summer along the Maritime Mile, which is a lovely walk down towards Titanic Belfast. They have 3 spots along the way where musicians perform free between 12 and 3 on a Sunday. And that's everything from traditional Irish music to choirs to opera. We have a NI Opera, a fantastic company. Jazz. There's all sorts of music that they put on free. And at Christmas, big events.
I was going to say, basically your day is set if you're in Belfast on a Sunday between 12 and 3.
Well, there's lots of free events if you know where to go for them. And they've opened a new venue, which is a special centre for culture and arts right in the city centre. It's called 2 Royal Avenue, because they've got to show that they're making more places available for music and culture. So that one is owned by the City Council, right in Royal Avenue, as the address is. And that is there for people to use. They put on music, all sorts of other artistic and creative cultural events. It's just a great meeting place. They put on events for Christmas, for Halloween, with involving a bit of music and other cultural entertainment. So they're trying.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of things going on then.
Oh, there's certainly a lot of things going on. I mean, I myself go out to a great many gigs and events, and people always laugh because usually I'm trying to run between two different events quite often, sometimes even three if there's a festival on the way.
Do you have a do you suffer from FOMO, the fear of missing out?
That's exactly what my family say. I suffer from FOMO. I can't bear to be at one thing and hear that another thing was brilliant that I wasn't at. So, if at all possible, I will run between two things. Even of
But
course,
that probably
buying the
means
two
you
tickets.
also always know what's going on and what's the best thing to experience.
Yes, quite a lot of people ask me for what's going on because that's the one thing. It's a wee bit hard. The city council and other people are trying with listings online, but it's really a case of following the right social media and checking up across so many festivals and events. But I certainly try to keep abreast of everything that's going on across very many genres.
Definitely sounds like it. And if we look at the city today, I mean, and just thinking back at the whole music scene in Belfast, how would you say that it's influenced the city today?
Well, the music is very important to Belfast. I mean, that's what they realise. They've done a survey recently, an organisation called Thrive, and they've gone around and spoken to people who wouldn't necessarily to begin with say they had a connection with music and arts and culture, but when they were speaking about it, they of course realised that they loved singing, they were in a choir, they went to bands, they went to the theatre, so it's in everybody's life. But what it means is that there's talent here, there's events on, there's great venues, we have great venues, great festivals. There's a great opportunity to get along to see especially emerging talent. Yes, we have the big arenas for the international acts that come, and sometimes I go to those, but I prefer to see the new talent coming through, the future stars, and they are so inexpensive, so easy to get to those small venues and support the kind of new emerging talent that I find that really exciting.
It's also a bit more fun. Then you can actually meet them, and if you're lucky, then one day you can say, "Oh, I met so and so in Belfast before."
That's
before
true.
they sold out, stages across the world.
That's right. The emerging bands are very happy to stand at the back and sell their merch and speak away to all the guests at the gig. So I love that part of it as well.
Fair enough. So for someone visiting Belfast for the first time then, what are the top places or experiences you would recommend to get a sense of the city's music?
Well, it's got a very important music heritage. It really matters now, but during the dark days when not so many bands came, punk arose then. So that's one important part of our music heritage, punk music. And in Belfast in the late 70s and early 80s, it really meant more, as there's a great godfather of punk, he's nicknamed Terry Hooley. He had set up record shops called Good Vibrations and a record label and promoted the punk bands, put out their singles, like the Undertones. That was his most famous one probably. But those bands played when no other bands did. And it brought the young people together from all communities to listen to the music. It was so exciting. So that's one legacy that still stands. We've still got a very strong punk music vibe going on. Lots of great young punk bands, still angry about all sorts of issues. So if you like your punk, we've got lots of great punk indie bands. And there's certain bars in the Cathedral Quarter that you could go to see those. But when people come, as well as the heritage, they mostly come and they've heard of Irish traditional music. Yeah. So traditional music, that's the bow-rawn and the fiddle and the guitar. That would have been associated with certain bars like Kelly's Cellars and Madden's Bar. But now because it's so popular, you can see it in many, many more bars. They would have sessions. That's an Irish word. Well, it's the same in English, sort of. But you can see them playing in the Black Box a couple of nights a month, in the Second Fiddle, which is joined on to the Dirty Onion in Hill Street, the American Bar. A bar that's very good for music every single night is called the Sunflower, and they have free music downstairs every night, ranging from Appalachian, Americana, jazz, and traditional Irish. So There's a place
So
for
it
every
really
type of music.
It really depends. Then it sounds
Depends
like
what
on
you
what
like.
type of music. Yeah,
Yeah, but most people want to take in a bit of the traditional Irish as a taster, and
yeah, of
that's
course, yeah.
absolutely quite clear. But there's other great hotspots. If you love jazz, there's a jazz club that opened up by our jazz pianist Scott Flanagan, and that's in East Belfast. That's every Friday night in an old working men's social club in East Belfast. And because he's well known and it's on the international tour route now, we get visiting jazz experts from all around the UK, Ireland, the whole world pop into Belfast. So that's a lovely place. Again, on the jazz front, Birch Jazz Bar has jazz dinner every night. You can have your dinner, but I especially recommend
Sounds
the
lovely.
Birch Jazz Brunch on the weekend. You can go and have a brunch
So
around
it's not
lunchtime.
all just at the evening. Then you can
No.
vary it throughout the day.
Oh yes, and there's, if you like the evening, because I like an afternoon slot now, there's blues afternoon in the American bar. They have a blues tradition with the best of jazz and blues, 2 to 5, and the Deer's Head also has like the kind of Belfast Blues Festival. So they put on that kind of bluesy, rocky music. So there's venues everywhere specialising in different genres of music. But one cool place to further recommend would be the Banana Block. That is in East Belfast again. And it's an old disused linen warehouse. And it's kind of a whole creative centre now. There's a lovely brewery. So it's got a special tap room for their own beers, Boundary Beer. And it has artists collective for visual artists. But the Banana Block itself, the key tenant there is a great record shop called Sound Advice. And Marion is a DJ as well. And in there they have fantastic events, club nights on the dancey side, the electronic music side, of lots of events taking place. And a special highlight, if you're able to catch it, would be David Holmes, who does his own DJ set called God's Waiting Room. Because he's very well connected as a composer and musician, he gets all the best bands come. If he asks them, they'll come and perform. So that's always a great night, God's Waiting Room at the Banana Block. So there's just a few suggestions.
Fantastic. Loads of suggestions. I mean, fair play. There's a lot to do in Belfast.
Oh, and
But,
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot my top favourite. How could I forget the Oh Yeah Music Centre, which is the home to contemporary music in Belfast. That's in the Cathedral Quarter, and it's very close to another great venue, the Black Box. The Black Box and the Oh Yeah are both social enterprises, so they're charities. They're not out to make money, so they will give more emerging bands a chance to perform. And
so do you go then there to listen to music, or what is it?
Yeah. Well, in the Oh Yeah, they actually run talent development programs to nurture and select the best of the potential new groups and help them improve, and singer-songwriters. So they have a lot of events. They have events put on by all the contemporary types of musicians, whether it's jazz, heavy rock, punk rock, metal, hip-hop, all sorts of things they put on. But they've also got rehearsal rooms upstairs and a recording studio. Everything that supports a music industry is housed in the Oh Yeah, including another great record shop called Star Records. So it's just it's got the NI Music Exhibition. So around the walls, it's full of information and panels and display cases of memorabilia of all the trends of music.
Quite cool.
Yep, in and around Belfast and further afield. And like memorabilia of Van Morrison, Snow Patrol, Gary Moore, the punk era, all the hip hop, all sorts of musicians. There's information all around the wall. So it's a really cool place.
It sounds like a good place to start, probably, your journey. Also considering if you get to Belfast, I mean, fair enough, if you arrive by the evening, just head out to a pub. But if you have a bit of the day, then, I mean, why not? Go there and get a bit of a music experience beforehand, and then probably you can ask for recommendations for your favorite, well, not, I was going to say for your favorite pub, but probably for your favorite genre, and then a pub.
Yes, if you go into Oh Yeah, it's open till 4 o'clock, 12 till 4 to the public every day, and have a look around and then ask anybody there who works there what's on tonight or what's coming up that they would recommend. I'm sure they would help out.
That would be perfect, yeah. So you spoke earlier about your tours, so can you describe the types of tours you offer? Like, what is the tour that you developed for?
The
For
first
this
tour
music?
that I developed is called the Belfast Music Tour, and that covers all genres from heritage, but mostly I talk about people. So at every stop we will focus on a different genre, and we start at the iconic venue, the Ulster Hall, and there we talk
Yeah.
about our first pop princess, as I call her, Ruby Murray, who was a great singer in the 1950s. A lot of people have forgotten her, but she was so famous that she's entered Cockney rhyming slang in London. If you're going for a Ruby Murray, you're going for a curry. And Frank Sinatra was a great fan of hers, and she still holds a Guinness Book of Records, for example, for having 5 singles in the UK charts at the same time. 1955,
Wow.
I think it was. So she's the first legend, and she's a kind of a crooner. And then we talk about the Ulster Orchestra, who's housed in the Ulster Hall, and you can go and see them quite often for free because they do recordings for BBC Radio 3, and they're free for the members of the public to be in the audience. And then we go to different stops, lovely walk around the city talking about traditional music, jazz, hip hop, punk, rock music, electronic, all sorts of different genres. And of course, we play music as we go along. I know we can't on the podcast, but we play music by
Unfortunately.
many of the people I've mentioned already. And some are legends already, and some are future legends, as I call them, you know, people who are really doing great things at the moment. And so then we end at the Oh Yeah Music Centre. I developed that tour in association with the Oh Yeah Music Centre. And we end there, and once a month we have a performer booked and lined up, ready to play just for the tour group. So
That's
I love
cool.
that one especially. Yeah. And other times we see music along the way into Royal Avenue, or we visit a church and there's often free music going on. So we do hear, I let them hear and enjoy the music as much as possible. And that's the all genres music tour. Then I do the punk music walking tour, which, as the title says, specialises in the story of punk in Belfast, past and present. And out of that we do other tours, such as the Cathedral Quarter Arts Trail, which looks at the writers, street art, sculptures, musicians in that compact Cathedral Quarter area, which is nicknamed the Cultural Quarter now, really. So there's a lot of tours, but as well as walking tours, with the Oh Yeah runs the bus tour, the music bus tour. So I'm the guide on that. There's another guide as well, and all these tours are available for groups. If the public dates don't suit, between myself and the Oh Yeah, we can organise a private coach if you have a group, or a private walking tour, or with the latest new idea which we've launched is a taxi tour, so we can take people around different ways. It's not too
Is that
expensive.
building on the Black Cab tours kind of thing?
It is, but the Black Cabs tours focus on the history and politics.
Yeah.
Our taxi tours focus on, like the first one is called Belfast Creatives, and that focuses on writers, artists and musicians. So that will take in writers like C.S. Lewis, Seamus Heaney, the street art, the music. So it's a nice tour. So we're being very ambitious. We've got lots of plans. And
yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like there is a fair lot to do when you visit, and I'm sure. I mean, and do you also do tours for like custom tours, or is it that?
Yes, those are we can do custom tours. I mean, people just tell me what they like, if they are more interested in a certain genre of music, or if they want a lot more about the writers. We can do whatever. And also, I mean, we do all the general introductory tours, general history of Belfast. But I tend not to do the overly political ones, as in dwelling on the Troubles and the peace walls. There's plenty of other people doing those. So we're specialising on the great, vibrant music and art scene that we have in Belfast. For the size of it, it's so compact, you can walk around really easily and get to all these places and
really
see so
can.
much.
Yeah, it's a very walkable, very easy city to get around, to be honest. I've spent quite a while walking around Belfast, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's flat.
It's very flat. It's very nice.
Very handy for walking. No great hills.
Yeah, exactly. Well, except if you go outside the city and, bask in the view of the city from the hills around. But, that's on your own.
Yes, that's what. Well, I mean, that's a different walking tour, but the walking tour is in the city centre. It's nice and flat.
Exactly. Well, I love Belfast though. It's such a nice city, and it's vibrant. It's lots going on. You can always have fun there, especially in the evening if you're going to a pub, and you can always find whatever you like in terms of music. Well, if you know where to look.
Yes.
But I have to ask, so we've had a nice rounded conversation around Belfast, like especially rounded music conversation about Belfast, I guess. But what's your favorite thing about Belfast? I'm guessing it's punk rock something, right?
Well, that's my my heart. I've got two types of music are very close to my heart, and one is punk music, but the other is traditional Irish music, because that was the first genre I was brought up to enjoy as a child. But the thing I enjoy about Belfast, apart from music, is A, that it's so compact, and B, that, as you mentioned, the hills, that we're on the sea. You can be at the seaside, get to the beach, see the beautiful hills and mountains. Everything is so nearby. You don't feel hemmed in. You can see the lovely hills. You can see the port, and you can get around really easily. And of course, the people are so friendly. They will help you. They will speak to you. You can strike up a conversation, and mostly they will try and give you tips on where to go. I mean, I just love it if tourists ask me information, not even knowing if that I'm a tour guide, because I'm just always helpful and wanting to tell them where the good places to go. But I just enjoy doing it. I suppose that's why I became a tour guide in the last few years.
Yeah, of course. No, that's fantastic. Let's say, so you already mentioned, you mentioned a fair few Irish words. You mentioned some instruments, and was it festivals and...
Yeah, the bow-rawn, that's the kind of round drum that you might see in Irish. That's what I actually started playing and still play.
Really?
So the bow-rawn, and the seh-shoon.
Yeah.
It's an Irish word in its own right. Feile, we have, as I say, so many festivals, but the Feile and Phobail is the community festival of West Belfast. That's one of the biggest community festivals. So Feile and Phobail is a community festival. Feile is a festival in Irish.
Feile, okay.
Another word for festival in Irish is fesh and flah. Okay. The Fleadh Ceol is the music festival, Fleadh Ceol. So there's kind of lots of... Because we like our music...
I was going to say, so if you see that written somewhere, then you're probably safe to go there in terms of it's going to be a music festival.
Yes, there's Fleadh Ceols that run, that's a music festivals in every county of Ireland. And then they have the grand finale, the All-Ireland flah, once a year. So flah and community feiles, you would see...
But I'm going to say that's kind of perfect, because even just knowing those, like Fleadh Ceol, that's perfect in terms of knowing, okay, if you see that written, then it's the festival. That's a great tip, because I've seen that written, and it's no surprise to most people that I don't speak Irish. So that's a good tip for me even.
Yeah.
And I work with Ireland.
Another tip is definitely to look up what festivals are on, because...
Definitely.
And a good place to look for that would be the Visit Belfast website. They'll always give information on what festivals are on. For example, every month there's at least one festival. Even January, which would not be seen as a month for festivals, it very luckily has the Out to Lunch Festival, which is connected to the main Cathedral Quarter Festival. And every day in January, from the 4th or 5th, they have lunchtime events, very inexpensive. You get your bowl of stew or soup, 1 to 2 great music or spoken word. And then in the evening as well, it's slightly more pricey, but not very pricey at all. So every day in January, there's still events on and festivals.
That sounds fantastic. I have some colleagues coming here in January, so I might just tell them to go in and do that on their day off. Out to Lunch,
CQAF, Cathedral Quarter.
Perfect.
Arts Festival is the website for that, but there's all that information's on Visit Belfast.
And I mean, you've told us where to find general info on music, but I mean, for me, the more pressing issue is where or how can our listeners get in contact with you and find out more about what you have on offer?
Well, my tours are listed on Visit Belfast and my information, but I do have my own website, which isn't too bad if I say so, Creative Tours Belfast. And
Easy to remember?
It lists both the dates that are publicly available with the prices and you can book direct, or you can inquire about the other tours that I can offer. If you have a group of 3 or 4 people, I'm sure we could agree a price that isn't too extortionate for you. So I'm just there. I mean, basically it's my passion. Music and showing people around is my passion. So I just love doing it. And
that's the best part, because when you speak with someone who's passionate about something, you can really tell, and it shines through, and it really does with you, Dolores. It was fantastic to speak with you. And I so much look forward to coming to Belfast now and listening to some more music.
Yes, and you can come on the tour as my guest.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.